Love, in its purest form, is supposed to be the most beautiful feeling a human being can experience. It is often described as the force that gives meaning to life, that turns ordinary days into extraordinary memories, and that connects two souls in ways words can barely capture. But love is not always victorious. Many times, it fails, quietly, painfully, and irreversibly. And when it does, the weight of that failure can feel like a shadow that never leaves, a scar that shapes the way we see the world, and sometimes, the way we see ourselves. Failure in love does not always mean betrayal, or that one person stops caring. Sometimes it's simply the slow realization that what once felt eternal cannot survive the test of time, circumstances, or human flaws. It can begin with silence, with unanswered calls, with the distance that grows not across miles but across hearts. It can be two people who love each other deeply but cannot align their lives. It can be one person walking away because they don't feel enough or because they feel too much. The reasons vary, but the pain has a universal language. Think about the first time you loved someone with your whole being. You invested your time, your energy, your dreams into them. You planned futures together in your mind, imagined walking hand in hand through the toughest storms, believing that love alone could overcome everything. And then, one day, you find yourself standing alone, holding fragments of what was once whole. You replay conversations in your mind, searching for the moment when things began to fall apart. You wonder if you could have done something differently, said something differently, been someone different. But the truth is, sometimes love fails not because of what we did, but in spite of everything we did. The failure of love often teaches us the harshest lessons. It reveals how fragile trust can be, how quickly promises can turn to echoes. It shows us that passion, no matter how intense, is not always enough to build a lifetime. It forces us to confront loneliness in a way that shakes us at our core. Nights become heavier. Songs sound different. Even the simplest things, a familiar street, a scent, a place once visited together, turn into reminders that pierce the heart. And yet, in this heartbreak, there is also a strange kind of growth, a brutal honesty about the human condition. For some people, the end of love feels like the end of everything. They stop believing in happiness. They withdraw from people. They wrap themselves in silence. For others, it becomes a turning point, a painful rebirth. They learn to pick up the pieces, to rebuild themselves, to find strength in their solitude. But no matter which path is taken, no one walks away from failed love unchanged. There is also the unspoken side of failed love, the love stories that never even begin. The ones where someone loves silently, from a distance, without ever confessing. The fear of rejection holds them back, and they live with the quiet ache of what might have been. That, too, is a kind of failure in love. A love that remains unspoken can haunt a person for years, leaving them to wonder if they lost something before it even had the chance to exist. The world romanticizes love's successes but rarely acknowledges its failures with the same tenderness. Films, songs, novels often end with the triumph of love, the reunion, the happy ending. But real life reminds us again and again that love stories do not always end in union. Sometimes they end in silence, in departure, in tears that are shed alone. And yet, these failed stories are just as important. They carry truths about human vulnerability, about the courage it takes to open your heart, and the strength it takes to survive when that heart is broken. Failure in love is not always about losing another person. Sometimes it's about losing yourself in the process of loving too much. You give so much of your energy, your identity, your dreams to someone else that when they leave, you don't know who you are anymore. You become a shadow of yourself, trying to rebuild piece by piece, trying to remember the version of you that existed before them. That journey back to yourself can be long, but it is also necessary. Because at the end of the day, no love is worth losing yourself completely. What often makes failure in love so devastating is the contrast. The very person who once made your world brighter, who once understood your silences, who once promised to stay, becomes the person who walks away. The same lips that whispered forever are the ones that say goodbye. The same eyes that looked at you with warmth now avoid your gaze. And you are left holding memories that feel both precious and unbearable at the same time. How do you move on from that? How do you carry the weight of both love and loss in the same breath? The answer is not simple. Some people find comfort in time, believing that wounds will heal as days turn into months, months into years. Others find healing in expression, writing, painting, creating something out of their pain. Some seek closure in conversations, while others accept that closure is something you must create for yourself, even if the other person never gives it to you. And some never fully move on, carrying the echoes of that failed love with them, learning to live with it like a faded scar. But perhaps the most important truth about failure in love is that it does not mean you are unworthy of love. It does not mean you will never be happy again. It simply means that this story, with this person, has ended. And while endings are painful, they also make room for new beginnings. The heart is more resilient than we give it credit for. It can break, it can bleed, it can shatter. But it can also mend. It can love again, and sometimes even more deeply than before. Love's failure is not a sign of weakness. It is proof that you dared to open your heart in a world where many are too afraid to. It is proof that you felt something real, that you believed in connection, that you were brave enough to try. And though it may leave you with scars, those scars are reminders that you lived, that you experienced the highs and lows of being human. One day, you might look back and realize that even in failure, love gave you something invaluable, the knowledge of your own depth, the capacity of your own heart. So, if you are someone who has known the pain of love's failure, know this: you are not alone. Countless souls have walked this path, countless hearts have carried this weight. And though the ache may feel endless now, though the nights may seem unbearable, there will come a day when you smile again without forcing it, when you hear their name and it no longer stings, when you see love not as a danger but as a possibility. Until then, allow yourself to feel, to grieve, to heal in your own way. Failure in love is not the end of love, it is a part of it. And sometimes, it is through failure that we discover what love truly means.